Hi, this is Dody Williams, and I'm here to show you my most recent Graphics Fairy Design Team Junk Journal project. As you can see, I have made a pretty massive spell book. It's being shown to you in August, and August is always the month when I start celebrating Halloween and taking out all my supplies to make a couple, 2 or 3 family spell books. So to begin with, I want to say that all the papers inside this spell book came from imagery from the Graphics Fairy Premium website. It's 100% Graphics Fairy in all my papers. For instance, I constructed all different sorts of backgrounds using all sorts of imagery and combining them, and almost none of them were officially Halloween imagery, which is something I really want to stress, that you do not need to have Halloween themed papers to create a spell book from the Graphics Fairy imagery. Now all the paper I used was printed on paper that is this sort of loose rag style paper, and I like to do that. It's big, it's 8 by 5 by 13 inches long when it's printed, and it really comes out loose and gives the exact effect I want for these spell journals. Now, the cover of my spell journal did come from the Fall Colors Ephemera bundle, and it's one of my most used, most favorite covers for Halloween journals, and I'll tell you why. It's these initials right here, SAP, which I have determined stands for Spells and Potions, and I did glue it onto old book boards, so it's really strong and sturdy, and it looks, I think it came out great in terms of gluing it onto the old book board. Here's a faux clasp. I love to add these old kind of spooky looking clasps to my spell journals. This one doesn't actually open. My one from last year did, but I have tied it together with this twine. So let's open it up. Here we go. Be prepared for your family spell journal, because this is the way I think of these. I think of these as being the witch and warlock family handed down the centuries spell book, family spell book. And so they put everything in it, not just spells and potions and hexes, everything, all the family pictures, all the family secrets. So when you open it, to begin with, you have up here family, and you start out with some pictures. Here's a guy from, I think he's a steampunk guy. I didn't have to do much to him. I just put Dustgate Studios in Darkdown Street and just stamped an unclaimed sticker on him. There's also a file folder, which does have some old recipe cards that are all glucked up, and this file folder is made from the parchment piece from the Tattered Treasures collection. You wouldn't think of Tattered Treasures as being necessarily Halloween paper, but it's one of the best ones to use. The very first tuck spot is made with, I've got a twig that I've wired on in to this tuck spot, and it's full of poisonous plants. When you turn the page, I do love to use, poison is one of my favorite words, and I love this one, condemned. But in this pocket, I did include my Witches Weekly. I created all of these ads from various Halloween imagery. Some comes from the Graphics Fairy, some doesn't, but a lot of them do originate in the Graphics Fairy somewhere. And this particular postcard I thought was really fun to make because this is a spell journal, family spell journal. So let's say Grandma got a postcard from someone and she just stuck it in the spell journal. I took these 5 beauties and they're running on the beach. Let's run for a spell with potions in paradise. And their names are Morgane, Rowena, Sabrina, Chloris, and Artemis. And I even wrote on the back, it came by airmail, "We are having a ball. So many eligible warlocks casting spells right and left. Think Sabrina has one hooked. XO plus star Gwenda to Hazel Ravenwood." So you can turn just about anything into a Halloween story. Now these are the little experiment cards that I've made. They're not really cards, they're like you'd rip them off of a sheet. And I love turning old pharmacy labels that are available into these old experiments. Here's a double pocket stuffed with recipe cards that you can actually use. And this is one of my favorite graphics fairy images. It's night. It's I just love the word, the way it's written, and it's just sort of spooky looking. And here are some more relatives and a bookmark that I made using 100% graphics fairy images. And I love the way I took this fly and sort of stuck him on this branch. And here's some more relatives. You'll see I just added a witch's hat to her and a fly sitting on her hat. She's from the Nightshade Studio, and I try to describe everybody, like, you know how your grandma would write, "Oh, this is Cousin Pearl in 1958 on the back of cards, on the back of pictures." Well, that's what I've tried to replicate here. I've put explanations for just about every photo that I've included in this journal. This comes from the Vampire bundle, and it has matching journaling cards inside, which can be used to write recipes or funny incidents that have happened in Halloween's past and present. Here's another one of my file folders using the Tattered Treasures scan. And here's some trade cards that I made using Graphics Fairy. All of the bundles I used are in the blog post, but I just like to add my own words and little extra images. Here is the hand that comes. It's usually pretty with in the Graphics Fairy. I think it's in one of the Valentine's bundles, but I just made it black and turned it into a Halloween hand. And so, for instance, here is a calling card for Armina von Darkmoor, the purveyor of premium witch salts of prodigious potentiality. Uses are endless. Potions, brews, hexes, all enhanced. Please visit our gingerbread house. And then I also like to take the instant ancestors and play with them. I turned these children, put them all with green faces, a raven on his shoulder, and some spiders hanging in the background. Throughout the whole journal, I've just like continued to use ancient ancestors. Here is Grandma. She was a lot younger in this picture. And so as you go through, you'll just find all sorts of fun things, and it's all been created from Graphics Fairy imagery that isn't necessarily Halloween imagery at all. I did make a little extra journal from the fortune teller music sheet and included it with some stained and yucky papers. And here's a notepad made from stained and yucky papers. And of course, one of my journals wouldn't be complete without my favorite guy, the dragonfly. And here's the word spells spelled out here. I used a lot of mushrooms in this particular Halloween journal. I love the Graphics Fairy mushrooms. They're some of the best anywhere. I don't think you can find any better mushrooms. I also love to use eyeballs. And here's another envelope that I made with matching journaling cards that can be used for recipes or just notes about memories from Halloween's past. And here's Grandma again, only oops, Grandma's twin sister Helga. I thought that was pretty funny, put the same picture in there twice. And here's some family friends. I made an envelope for bookmarks here, and I did put Shakespeare's Double, Double, Toil and Trouble on there. And here's Grandpa with a raven and a skull. He's pretty funny. This particular owl is from the Sleepy Hollow collection, and I did have to take one of the ancient ancestors and behead him, and he came from the Sleepy Hollow studio, and on the back I wrote, Uncle Ewart, someone named Washington Irving wrote a book about him and the town of Sleepy Hollow. Not sure what brought Uncle to his attention, except that he had a really pretty horse, totally overlooking the fact that Uncle is headless. I just think it's fun to sort of make up your own ancestors. I created a bunch of witch calling cards. Cleona Carpathia, witch, spells, hexes, potions, and charms. And here's a coven. It's coven number 184206945. And some more journaling cards made from the second Grand Masquerade Ball. I love that one. That is actually from a Halloween packet, I do think. But throughout the entire journal, I've stuffed it full of relatives and calling cards and little extra journals and recipe cards. And one of my favorite things to do is to make tabs. I love making tabs, and I love using words like unknown, poison, spells, deadly poison, and I just think it's fun. This is one of my favorite times of year. It's one of my favorite things to do, and I look at these as you would putting out a Christmas tree. If you celebrate Christmas, you get out your spell book and put it in your hall, on your hall table like this, surrounded by candles, and it's just a great conversation piece. People love to pore over them, and they're just so much fun. So thank you so much for letting me show you one of my major passions, making fun Halloween spell journals. And my goal is to make more and more every year and just sort of spread them to families who find them to be fun and a lovely, not a lovely, but a fun Halloween accent piece. Thank you so much. Thank you, Graphics Fairy, for all of the opportunities I've had with you, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Bye.